All right, today we're going to dive into something really powerful, a framework for innovation that puts people, not products, right at the center of everything. It's called the design thinking process. You'll see it's used by some of the most successful companies out there, and it all boils down to one simple but huge shift in perspective.
You know that feeling, right? We've all been there. You're trying to use some app or new gadget, and it's just clunky. It doesn't make sense. It feels like the person who designed it never actually tried to use it in the real world. You just want to shout, "Did you even talk to a human being about this?"
And that right there is the heart of the problem. It's usually not a lack of clever ideas. The world is full of them. The real issue is we have all these brilliant solutions for problems that nobody actually has. It's probably the number one reason why incredible sounding innovations just end up gathering dust on a shelf.
So, how do you avoid that trap? How do you build something that people don't just use but genuinely need, and maybe even love? Well, the answer lies in a structured, five-stage process. But here's the key. It's not really a straight line. It's more of a loop. The stages are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test.
See, it all kicks off with this massive shift in thinking. Instead of starting with a brilliant product idea, you start with a person. That's the core of design thinking. It's a human-centered approach that completely flips the traditional script, and in doing so, it dramatically boosts your chances of creating something that actually sticks. So, how does this actually work in practice? Well, it all begins with the first, and honestly, the most important step: empathy. This is about developing a deep, genuine drive to understand the person you're designing for. Let's make this real. Imagine our project is to redesign a simple travel coffee mug for a daily commuter. The goal here is not to get them to agree with your idea for a better mug. Nope. It's about throwing all your assumptions right out the window. It's about learning everything you can about their morning commute. What do they actually need? What's important to them? And what are the biggest frustrations they have with the mugs they're already using? To really pull this off, you've got to put on your detective hat. You're not a salesperson pitching a new feature. You're an investigator on a case. And your most important tool isn't a magnifying glass. It's the ability to ask really thoughtful, probing questions. And let me tell you, the quality of your questions is everything. Limiting questions like, do you want a mug that doesn't leak? Well, of course they'll say yes, but that doesn't tell you anything. It's the broadening questions, the ones that start with why or how, that open up a whole new world. A question like, tell me about a time your mug totally failed you. Now that's where the real story is. Because remember, your goal here isn't just to pull out data points, it's to build genuine empathy. You need to understand not just what your user does, but how they feel. What's that feeling of absolute dread when they see a coffee stain spreading across important papers in their bag? That's it. That's where the truly valuable insights are hiding. But just talking to people is only half the story. After you've spent time with them, really observing them in their own environment, watching them juggle keys, a phone, and their mug while running for the train, you can finally start to pull all your findings together into a clear, actionable problem statement. And that's what it looks like. This is what's called a point of view statement. Notice it doesn't say we need to build a leak-proof lid. It's specific, it's human-centered, and it frames the whole problem around a core emotional need. In this case, confidence and security. Now you've got a mission. Okay, with that clear problem defined, it is time to generate as many ideas as possible. This is the fun part, the no bad ideas phase. How could we solve for 100% confidence? Maybe a magnetic locking lid, a pressure-sealed valve. What about a mug with a totally separate dry storage compartment? You just go as wide as you can and explore every single possibility, no matter how wild. Now it's time to take your best ideas and make them real. A prototype isn't some polished, finished product. No, it's a quick, super low-cost model. We're talking 3D prints, cardboard, maybe even clay. You take your prototype for that new magnetic lid, and you actually give it to your commuter to test on their real route. And this, the testing phase, is where your idea finally smacks into reality. So, did that magnetic lid work? Maybe they absolutely loved the security it offered, but they found it impossible to open with one hand while driving. Now, that's not a failure. That is invaluable feedback. And that is the power of the loop. That one little piece of feedback sends you right back to the drawing board. Maybe you go back to the ideate phase to rethink the whole opening mechanism, or maybe just back to the prototype phase to tweak the magnet's strength. Then you test again, and again. And that is the engine of innovation right there. It's a constant cycle of building something so you can think better and testing it so you can learn faster. By starting with empathy and constantly looping back with real user feedback, you move from solving a problem you think people have to building a solution you know they truly need.
So I'll leave you with this thought. This whole process isn't just for product designers or engineers. It's a powerful tool for every single one of us. Think about your work, your community, even your family. What's a problem right there, right around you, that could be solved not by some brilliant idea that pops into your head, but by starting with the simple, powerful act of truly, deeply understanding just one person?